All right. Perfect. Let's see where we're at. Welcome back, everybody. I hope that you took that time to take a stretch and get comfortable. We've dropped by about 10, which is reasonable and normal. What I think I'm going to do, and I've done this before, is we're going to, instead of breaking out into breakout rooms, we had five initially. Let's just continue the conversation here. I'm going to have Sarah Wilson, who, if you don't know, is my right hand. So if you can't get a hold of me, please contact Sarah or please ask her questions. She knows all the things about WEEA that I do and is a huge support to me and a great partner in this work. So we're going to just have an open discussion. Let me, of course, it says restart the program. Of course it is. But we can do this without that. So let's just, nobody can see the stuff. Let's go ahead and just get on to our questions. First, again, welcome back to everybody who's still here. What are your thoughts? Did we respond to everything, all the questions that you had, or was there anything that you wanted to make sure was included in this recording, was included in this bunch of materials that we're going to send out? Did we address most of your concerns, or what did you think about the polling? This is kind of like an open forum right now if you have anything to add. Any hands? Thoughts about how the session went? Adrian.
Hi, is my mic okay?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Hey, everybody, excuse me. Hey, everybody. I'm a second year Long Beach Community College student, and I just wanted to say that, a couple weeks ago, I was interested in, trying to hold a forum for my college between, like industry professionals in the water industry and, like hearing everybody talk and hearing all the professionals like just give their opinion on everything. It's kind of affirmed that type of like commitment for myself. So I haven't gotten any like type of approval for any from anybody. All I've done is like tell the dean of the school about this. But I was wondering if anybody would be interested in, attending a type of forum for some maybe engineering students, environmental science students. Long Beach is a very like huge school, and I'm sure that we would get a lot of participants. Knowing some of my peers, and like just connecting professionals of the industry to the community college would be a great idea, I believe. And yeah.
What are our thoughts? You can just come off mute. Thoughts from industry. Would you be interested in participating in a similar forum at Long Beach? Jennifer.
Hi, I included it in the chat, but I would be happy to participate in something like this. Just having come from Long Beach Water and connected with the city, always looking for opportunities to talk about water and connect with students that might be interested, and environmental science in particular. So it kind of is a good fit.
Perfect.
Thank you guys.
Adrian, you can count
Sorry.
me in too.
Oh,
Uh, Depending on the date and time, happy to join and see where the conversation leads. Depending on what the forum looks like, maybe we can tap some of our industry professionals in Long Beach. Thank you. Dropped in your email. Perfect. And maybe we can get a little clear about what you're looking for the day. But I think this is a great opportunity again when we do these type of things where we just confirmed for Adrian that this is something that he's interested in because of a simple discussion. We've heard from our Water UCI students that this is something that has affirmed their interest in water. We've heard when we open up the door to students, some of the quotes that we have from our Aqua Foundation luncheon at the Aqua conference recently. I didn't know where I fit in. And now because I've had a discussion, I do and I'm interested. So these conversations matter. Thank you, Adrian.
yeah, definitely. And thank you to everybody who, participated and gave, made made a certain contribution. It was very helpful. I definitely think that, I'll have to like organize and structure the actual event itself, but please get in contact with me if you can. And hopefully we can get this thing started. I'm very excited. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Adrian. And for everybody in the room, you do get the meeting recording following the meeting. We'll send out the chat. So you'll have all of the links, all of the conversation, the presentation. You're going to have everything that you need to reply. And we might make a personal ask closer to what we look like the event, what we understand the event to be. Let's see, from Nick. To help build collaboration and follow-up connections, are WEEA participants willing to share their contact information? Thank you, Nick. So that is the question. If you're not interested, please let us know. You can send me a personal message. I know this is a sensitive question, but happy to understand where you're willing to connect. Nick.
Well, Tiffany, I know in the past it was shared and then it wasn't shared. And so I think there's been so many good ideas and wonderful connections made during these meetings. But if we don't know how to reach each other and connect to each other, it makes it difficult. So if you could possibly please consider asking people if they do not want to be their information shared, then they would be excluded. But everybody else, if we could have some sort of a contact list, that would be great. That's just an idea. Thank you for considering.
Thank you, Nick. Thanks for your comment. Okay, while we're here, it looks like we can move on. So let's have a larger conversation. Sarah, do you want to pull up the Padlet and share screen, or would you like me to do that? Perfect. There was a lot we talked about today. And I think what we really appreciate about these meetings, there's a lot of great ideas, but one of the things that at least this collaboration has come to know, and when I was thinking about it, actually Spencer and I were talking the other day about where we were 5 years ago as opposed to where we are today, and the partnerships that have been able to been formed, the resources that have been shared, the collaboration and the idea sharing has been so rich over these last few years, and that's because we're willing to share ideas and collaborate with each other. So this is just an extension of that. We talked at the icebreaker from about the skills that our current workforce has, right? And what is really important there. And to kind of ground us as we move forward, again, this is from your seat, this is from your regional perspective. What strength should we double down on when we're going about doing our workforce work? Whether we're in HR, whether we're in communications, whether we're addressing our four pillars, which are, for reminder, diversity, awareness, partnership, and skills, where do we want to double down? Is it going to be those technical skills specifically for trades? Is it going to be essential skills? Do we really want to look further into investing in our current workforce and offering benefits outside of the general benefit package? And we know that I'm mentioning this because a lot of our agencies are considering that. They're thinking, okay, we're not really exciting young people with the benefit package that's so powerful to those of us who are further along in our career. How are we going to retain our employees? Any thoughts?
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Tiffany?
who's
That's
that?
Don.
Yes, Don.
So I actually found the voice.
Excellent. I'm so excited.
Yeah, no, I think that the partnership and collaboration, and the most important thing is that we not reinvent the wheel.
Mm,
So sharing, for instance, like the regional internship program that we have down here has been going for almost 25 years. And I'm sure that County Water Authority would be willing to mentor anybody who wants to set up a comparable program.
yeah, that's an excellent point. And we've learned this in our work as our people resources are shrinking, but the work hasn't shrunk. The work continues to grow. And whether that's workforce development or if you think of yourself in your current role, Why reinvent the wheel? There's strong work already being done, including curriculum for CTEs, including the WEEA brochures for increasing awareness that you can drop your logo on. A shared internship program, like what is happening in San Diego. Can you imagine if you don't have one? Imagine what a shared internship program could do for your region and for your partnership with those that you have to partner with in the region. Anyone else? What workforce strength should we double down on? Does anyone have any thoughts about that? Alicia, regional water news platform helps spread the word about water employees and how he progressed to give hope to others. Looks like it's a news article worth reading. Thank you, Alicia. Alejandro.
Thank you, Tiffany. Hi, everyone. I would say participation. I know that we will have many projects that we're working on, but participation at different levels. For example, there's a school advisory committee this Friday at Santiago Canyon College, making sure that we talk to faculty, specifically from those water programs, so that we can provide feedback and also ask them what they need. As an employer, we can provide feedback on what we've seen from new hires, interviews. One thing that I have addressed is soft skill training. I know that in schools we usually focus on the technical part of it, but there's more to that. So what can we do to address that and make sure that prospective candidates are qualified and succeed in those interviews? That's one thing. Also, participation in these type of forums, whether it's WEEA, Metropolitan Workforce Development Group, the more people that add to the conversation, the more solutions that we have.
Yeah, that's an absolutely excellent point. The participation can be difficult for others. I can tell you that our last WEEA Leadership Roundtable meeting had 135 registrants, and we ended up with 65 participants. This one had over 100 registrants, and we ended up with 51. When I made calls, like, I'm just curious, what happened? Another priority came up. Oh, we have a recognition from our board that can't be missed. I have a competing opportunity, and I'm recognizing that that's growing. The more we're losing talent and we're having to fill in those gaps. So, Alejandra, I'm going to ask you this because you've been participating in a lot of different things, right? To gain that really robust, well-rounded experience and expertise, right? Your knowledge is growing and has been over the past year, I'd say. What do you recommend for people prioritizing things like this?
Thank you, Tiffany. Just being strategic, just writing down what it is that we want to achieve, and then the information that we need from others. Also, not allocating every task to one person, making sure that we spread the workload, that we communicate with people in our departments. For example, tomorrow I'm attending I'm attending one event, and I was asked to attend a career fair. Well, I'm not able to make it, but who else is willing to attend? I reached out to people from other departments. So just knowing that there are resources out there, whether it's within our agency or other agencies, there's someone that's going to be willing to help.
Thank you for that. And just a follow-up question. Over the last year or so, as you've been participating a lot and gaining more insight, what surprised you over this last year? Did you think you'd learn this much and become this really well-rounded? And there's always things to learn, but I think about myself, 6 years ago, I didn't even know what a CTE program is, and by participating and listening, how far we've come.
Right. Thank you, Tiffany. So I'll be honest, participating in these type of events, making time for these events. If I'm new to the water industry, I've only been in the industry for a year, but if it wasn't for forums like this, WEEA and Metropolitan Water District, my knowledge would be very limited. So through these organizations, I've been able to meet people, learn from others, network, reach out, and that has contributed to my knowledge. And I'm still learning, and I still have a long way to go. But at least I know that besides people in my agency, there's people from other organizations that are willing to help.
Yeah, and can I just point out, he's been in his current role a year. So, for those of us who have been doing this for some time, that takes some time to build. But he has hit the ground running and has decided to get organized and to use strategy to his advantage. What do I need to know? What are the targeted questions that are gonna help us move forward, and how can I contribute? And I just want to applaud you, Alejandro, truly for the work that you've done this last year and showing others that it is possible even with very full schedules and very full um, areas of responsibility. So thank you for all you've done.
Thank you.
Anyone else? What workforce strengths should we double down on? I do want to say, I want to call out this one comment in the chat from Don, and it is about most agencies spend lots of money recruiting and hiring, but really drop the ball during onboarding. New employee orientation should be a process, not an event. Research shows that 90% of a new employee's attitude is formed in their first 10 days on the job. Are we making sure that newbies are being supported? Anybody have thoughts on that? Are we spending the appropriate amount of time with our new hires to ensure we're building those relationships?
Can I expand on that a little bit?
Please.
Yeah, actually, so often when somebody shows up on their job on the first day, they show up at the reception, and there's a lag time of 2 to 3 weeks from the time the job offer is made and they show up. And unfortunately, oftentimes when they show up, they say, "Oh, well, let me see if I can find somebody to help you." And so they get handed off to whoever is available. And whoever is available is probably the last person you want to have be the force and spokesperson for your agency. And so you might want to go through and designate and figure out who are the people that we definitely want to be role models and mentors for new employees, and make sure that those are the people that they come in contact to. Otherwise, you clone mediocre employees, and that's not the way you want to start somebody's 20-year career, is having a mediocre employee.
It's a great point. Thank you for that. And then I'm going to highlight, unless somebody has a comment. Anybody have a comment?
Yeah, I would like to say something about that.
Please.
Maybe try to ignite the conversation a little bit. I'd like to share a story with you guys about one of my first experiences trying to get an internship. The first time that I ever got an interview was with a construction firm, or a development firm, excuse me. And they have a very nice program that I've been following, and I was very excited for to be accepted into the application process and being given the interview. But with this certain company, and actually the company that I applied to afterwards, there was a little bit of like lack of organization. I can't really find like the correct words for it, but the first company that I'm talking about, I I don't know if maybe it was a lack of communication on my end. However, like on the day of the interview, there really was no organization at all. I came to the site that I was supposed to go to, and it ended up being like, oh, you had an interview, like we never knew that. And the hiring manager, I talked to them, and they said, oh, I'm so sorry about that. There was some miscommunication on my end. You weren't accepted for the position. And so it was really like disheartening, and it's kind of what turned me away from construction as an industry. Maybe like that's very like too forward. Maybe I should give some other people a chance, but just wanted to share my experiences.
No, Adrian, I appreciate that. That's a very honest reflection for the rest of us. I think that to Don's point, making sure when we're looking at retention is part of our process. Are we making the best impression, right? Are we spending the time that we need to? And I think that you've just said that you've turned away from an entire industry because of your onboarding experience. Does that hit home for any of us? Does that story really show that this matters? And then think about some of your own onboarding experiences, regardless of whether it was in water or previous, and how that left an impression with you. Perhaps that is a very easy way that we can address our retention issues. Thank you for sharing that story. That would really actually brought things home, at least for me. So thank you for that. Anybody have any comments to that or thoughts about it? Okay. I did want to bring up another comment in the chat before we move on, from Manuel, who's talking about bilingual exams or bilingual resources. Are we doing that? Are we creating outreach in multiple languages? Are we addressing there might be some challenges with some folks taking an exam, for example, to make them qualified for an application process? And I say an application process because I know that in some instances you have to take an exam to even qualify for the next step, which isn't necessarily an interview. Is anyone putting some effort into second language materials or resources? Sarah, do you want to speak a little to that from what MODOC is doing? Sarah Wilson.
Sorry, I have about 4 screens going and I didn't know which one had my mute. Yeah, we're definitely trying to expand our reach with multilingual resources. Particularly, we've been getting a lot of requests just for basic outreach, like our poster contest. We do an annual poster contest encouraging K through 12 students to submit artwork based on a water-wise theme. And we've done English and Spanish, but now we're getting increased requests for Vietnamese and a lot of other languages that we see are prominent in our region. And so we're kind of looking at where there are other avenues that we can explore that so that we're not missing key students that could benefit from the information, but also could be our future employers. We're missing a huge gap if we don't have resources to reach them.
Thank you for that, Sarah. And to expand again on that, we do have the WEEA career brochures that we translated in 9 different languages that are free for you to use. If you go to the website, just drop your logo on them and off you go. But the purpose of that was not necessarily to engage students who maybe aren't fluent in English, but it was to have a full family conversation, right? Because our mentors, the mentorship generally happens at home. So for example, just translating some simple materials like a poster contest flyer into multiple languages increases our chances for people knowing that the water industry exists. Because I can tell you, when we've hosted our award ceremony for 40 students following an event, we host it for a full family. So moms, dads, siblings, teachers, and it's generally the parents that are pushing the young person to submit your artwork. This particular thing is about careers. Expand on what you know. So that's why we do it. I would like to call on Manuel. He said he can expand a little more on his efforts, and maybe you can get some additional response to your question.
Thank you, Tiffany. So my name's Manuel. Most people just call me Manny. I work for the Office of Public Engagement, Equity and Tribal Affairs over at the State Water Resources Control Board. And one of the projects that we are undertaking is that over the past year, we have been meeting with NGOs, a few utilities, and having conversations about the workforce and some of the hiring challenges that, I think many of you are well experienced with. And particularly one of the issues we're trying to address, is the capacity of small disadvantaged communities and their water systems located inside of the Central Valley. So I specifically work under the SAFER program, the Safe and Affordable Fund for Equity and Resilience. And so through this effort, we're investigating if it is worthwhile to translate the entry-level examinations for distribution, treatment, and wastewater operators. So D1, D2, T1, T2, as well as the grade 1 and grade 2 exams. And the reason we're advocating for this is because we recognize that there are some folks, right, who are limited English proficient individuals who are already inside of the water operator industry. And so we've heard from folks over at Long Beach Utilities that, there are some folks who are having trouble recertifying or folks who would like to become certified, and they can communicate in basic English and do, most of what the job duty requires them, and in most instances, they can even navigate the internal structure of the utility, perfectly fine. We're just advocating for translating the exam to sort of level the playing field when it comes to bilingual operators, because, when you are someone who's bilingual, your language vocabulary doesn't necessarily translate to, your technical capacity, right? And so there are some folks who we think might benefit from having the exam translated into Spanish, for example, who could be able to take the exam in a language they're more familiar with, and then be able to certify or recertify easily, and then be able to continue on about their work and, and go back to their water system or the public utility or the private, company that they work for, and continue about their daily task. But we're hoping that this would help improve, the hiring pool and the capacity for small water systems to supply potable water, because we know that in some instances, disadvantaged communities rely primarily on contractors, should a water main break, should they have any sort of water system issue, instead of having somebody that is more local to them to be able to help them with their emergencies. But yeah, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Once again, my name is Manuel and I work at the Office of Public Engagement, Equity, and Tribal Affairs. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Manny. Does anybody have anything to add to that? Any thoughts? Chris?
Okay, I just wanted to say that I'm super excited to hear that that's in the process. I work in Palm Springs and a lot of my workforce is Hispanic, and it's really hard to we give them 2 years after hire to get certified. And it's really hard when you have somebody who's super intelligent and is awesome at his job and just can't pass a test because of that. And if you could put the pipe in front of them, we'd pass the test in 5 minutes. And I think that that's really important to have different avenues. And I have another one who's very much a visual test taker, and he would do great on like a cross connection exam, for instance, which is the hands-on, but he's having a really hard time because of the way he writes, and there may be a learning disability. But I think that we need to explore those things as well, because I hate that we have to, that they might be held back in their career because of something that's out of their control. And we have some really good employees that I would like to be able to promote up higher.
Thank you for sharing your experience, Chris. I would really love to learn more about that actually. So I'll share my email in the chat, because part of what we're also trying to do is show that there is a need for this in, the real world, that we aren't just advocating for equity's sake, right? We are advocating for this because there are real people who could benefit from this. And so I would love to meet with you outside of this meeting and with my supervisor so we could learn about these folks, and maybe even get a little bit of an endorsement just to show, we have an upcoming meeting where we are essentially proposing this. And so depending on how that meeting goes, we may translate the introductory exams moving forward into Spanish. So thank you so much for sharing that, Chris.
Yeah, I'll reach out for sure. Thank you.
Jennifer, great efforts, Manny. And we've heard about this at previous leadership roundtable meetings. I'd have to dig back to see where it was called out specifically, but it has been recommended that the certifications are offered in other languages. So that it is something that we've been talking about in different pockets. Anyone else have any comments about that or want to share something? I can tell you that even this movie that we were presenting at the beginning of the meeting, it follows around this wastewater crew, and one of the wastewater crew is an English first speaker, and he struggled. He didn't pass his exam 3 times. Not because he couldn't do the job, he was placed in the job. He was doing the job every day. But there's something else going on where he had to get additional help. Imagine if you didn't speak English as your first language and the translations were challenging for you. So thanks for what you're doing.
Thank you.
Okay.
And then actually one final thing, 'cause this is a very crucial part of our focus. So currently we're proposing to translate the exam into Spanish only just because that's the exam, that's the language that we've identified. So specifically, I work in the language access program over in OPEDA. And we've identified a few top languages that we translate documents into for a lot of our regional board and state board processes, but Spanish is the language that we are currently focusing on at the moment. So just throwing that out there.
Thank you. Mark, did I see you raise your hand?
I did. Just as a dyslexic professional, I kind of also want to uplift that, and I don't know what these certifications and tests look like, but if there's also accommodations for learning difficulties, that would also be helpful because a lot of the careers that we've been talking about today, a lot of dyslexic individuals or people who haven't been super successful in academia or high school or college, they go towards this as well. And so just thinking about them, especially when you have someone who might have a learning disability and English is not their first language, that compounds it as well. So just wanted to elevate that.
Thank you, Mark. Dawn, did you have a question?
Oh, I was just sending you a text message and kind of as a follow-up to the registration versus attendance lab.
Yes.
Would people's schedules the way they are these days, have you given any consideration to maybe having the meetings more frequently, but less than a 3-hour block? A
Yeah,
3-hour block is a huge commitment for
it
people
is.
today. So maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours more frequently might work. It'll
Yeah,
be interesting to poll your registration.
Thank you for that. And we plan on it. It's very interesting. As you know, when we first came away from COVID or we were in COVID, like this was the spot for people across the state to be able to jump in and share. And now, as time has gone on, it's like, oh my goodness, one more meeting. So we have been talking about doing a poll, and I appreciate your feedback. I appreciate your feedback. That being said, I think we're going to go ahead and skip the last 2 questions, leave room for any final thoughts, give you back 10 minutes of your day if you need it. Anybody have anything else to add before we close today? Great. And then one final request for me to make sure that we're continuing these meetings and continuing to provide value. This partnership with Water UCI is a big one, and it has extended for quite some time. So now we're looking into the future as they gather their research and they continue to do their work. What other topics are you interested in so that we could bring those back to you out of everything that we've discussed? Would it be funding? Would it be, oh, gee, it could be just about anything. Looking to see if there was anything else. Okay, perfect. Could be just about anything. Do you want to hear more about partnerships? Do you want to see more good news and announcements in action? You just let me know. Nick, final word?
Yes, ma'am. I just want to turn on the video here. Okay. Would like to mention or restate the importance from an educator's point of view of connecting the children or the students, the high school student, not children, adults, high school students and college students with apprenticeship, job shadowing opportunities, and any apprentice programs. So I know LADWP, MWD has different programs. If we could get a list, if someone could please put together a list so that we have a list of all these different types of things that are available, and some of them are going to be intermittent, not necessarily all year round, but that's my suggestion if we could help put that together. Thank you.
Great. And Nick, you've got some, Mark has put his email address in the chat, so make sure you grab it before you leave. Nancy, centralized resources, curriculum events, and contacts would be helpful to Nancy. You have my contact information. I'm going to follow up with an email, making sure everybody gets all of the things. It's going to take a couple of days for us to get the recording and trim where we need to trim. But thank you all for your participation and for continuing to show up and continuing to help us move this mountain together. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day.